We're live.
This book is awesome. Incredible pictures in it. Really vivid, colorful pictures. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm your host, Joe Abadi. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie, for helping me put the show together. And of course, thank you, the viewers at home who've tuned in to watch. Jordan, let's get down to the starting line, and I'll tell everyone what we're going to be seeing tonight. The starting line is, of course, sponsored by Motion Pro products. And the next time, try this segment, a very special episode that I've got coming in for you from far and wide. I'm looking forward to showing it to you. In the Moto Showcase, a 1979 Honda CR125 that was sent in to us from Canada. In the Here's the Problem segment, we've got 3 great questions. One of them involves the studs in the hub of the Honda. We're going to be showing you more about that. What's it worth? 1976 Yamaha YZ250C. That's coming up. Don't forget, if you're watching the show on Facebook or YouTube, please share it. If you're sharing it on YouTube, don't forget to comment AMSOIL. We'll have a random share giveaway winner a little bit later on in the show. YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's growing and it's getting better all the time. You'll be able to watch all the Vintage Motocross Q&A shows in HD, and you'll also be able to listen to Vintage Motocross Radio interviews. So please subscribe. You'll get a little alert like this that'll tell you when we're live on the air, and you'll be able to watch the show. And how are the pros watching the show? How are the experts watching the show? They're sitting back on their couch watching Vintage Motocross Q&A in high definition on their TV while they sit back with their phone and they can comment from their phone. And that's the way the pros are doing it. So get back on your couch, watch it on YouTube, and you can comment from your phone. And that's where we can see what you have to say about the show. Big part of the show is when you send me content. So whether it's bikes for the Moto Showcase or whether it's questions or comments, anything that's on your mind, keep them coming in. You can inbox me from the page, and we'll be glad to respond to the questions on the show or your comments. But of course, the Moto Showcase bikes, we'll feature them on here, like we're going to be showing in just a few minutes with that 79 CR125. And we give away some great prizes from AMSOIL and from Preston Petty. So keep it coming. The best part of the show is when you're involved. As always, I want to thank all of our sponsors, Motion Pro, Vinco, Full Circle Racing, Sunrise, Vapor Blasting, Racer X, Preston Petty Products, Northwest Mako CZ, and AMSOIL Products. In tonight's Next Time Try This segment, we're going to be taking a look at a special video I made while I was away on the East Coast. This week's Next Time Try This segment is brought to you by Vinco. Keep the ride going. We're inside Louis' shop, and what we want to talk about today is how to repair damaged threads that could be on an axle or another important bolt on your bike. Louis behind me, he's setting a few things up. We're going to take a look at it, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you can repair those threads at home. What kind of files would you, in fact, what kind of files do you have right there in your hands that you would be using on this thread repair today?
Well, there's two different types. Old school, old timers use just a triangular file because most threads are at a 60-degree angle, and the file is a 60-degree angle. And you can see how that fits in the thread.
At the exact angle?
At the exact angle. And repair the damaged spot, which is right here and here. They're flattened out.
Okay.
This works well and inexpensively, but you have to do one piece at a time. They do make now what's called a thread file with several different threads on it. This particular one seems to be, is that the one? I can't see.
Looks like it is.
And it says here that's 9 threads per inch. And you can do multiple threads at one time.
So you would make this repair on the lathe with that type of file, and for somebody at home who doesn't have a lathe, they would use that triangular file. Can you give us a little display of how this would work on a lathe right now?
I would use the lathe because I have one and it's available. And as I run it, I can just hold the file and let it run down, But if I didn't have one, either file, you would just use like a regular file.
We can see the damaged part of the thread right here. Louis has highlighted it a little bit for us. You can see where it's a little flat.
I'm going to show you first is the nut. And you can see it goes nice until it hits that damaged area. Then it doesn't want to go anymore. I'm going to turn on the lathe. And then it's important not to hold the file straight, but kind of on the same angle that the thread is. And that's just by eye, and it's not really that particular. So I just hold it on here, and much like a nut would go down, you can see where it's grabbing when it's hitting the bad spot.
How many times will you go over it?
I'll just go a couple times and then try the nut. And I'll keep going until it doesn't grab. And we'll try that and see what it does. And it's still grabbing there a little.
Okay, so we need a little bit more.
A little more. And it's almost there.
Couldn't be much better than that.
You could go a little more and it would spin right free, but I would be happy with that.
What if someone didn't have a lathe like this and they just had an axle like that or whatever they were fixing in a vise if they didn't have a lathe? How would they approach that?
Kind of basically the same, but rather than the bolt turning, you would move the file. And these are a double cut file. They cut both ways. So you just line it up, and it's a lot of just eyeballing on the angles. And then you look at where the bad spot is and just kind of go, you don't want to go right straight either. Kind of follow the thing around, just wherever you feel the bad spots. The old timers didn't have stuff like that. And you would do the same process. If it was nicked on one side, of course this is a single cut file, so you would just, wherever the bad spots are, and keep looking at it till it blends in with the original thread. Patience. Patience and trial and error. And it'll spin right on there now.
There you have it.
You've got to have patience.
That's it for our Next Time Try This segment tonight. I want to thank Vinco for being a sponsor of this segment. Vinco, keep the ride going. The Moto Showcase is sponsored by Preston Petty Products. I'll be telling you a little bit more about Preston Petty Products in just a moment. But right now, I want to tell you about a very nice 1979 Honda CR125 that was sent in to us by Mick Versava from Ontario, Canada. Great show, Joe. Well, thank you, Mick. Mick says that he purchased a 79 brand new for $1,099 when they first came out. And then eventually he sold it and bought another bike. He also bought a Bell Moto 3 on that same day. The bike that you see here is the only one that uses a 23-inch front wheel from Honda. This is an all original barn find. It's not Mick's original bike. When he got it, he needed engine seals, a clutch, a top end, chain sprockets, grips, levers, and a good bath. OEM parts were purchased and they were replaced. The Bridgestone claw action tire are original as well. I repainted the shock bodies, the shifter, and the brake pedal. The bike sounds and runs great and is now retired in my man cave along with my original Bell Moto 3 helmet. Mick Versava, great story. Looks like you have a beautiful bike there and you still got the original helmet. I want to thank you for sending that in. And if you send us your address, we'll get you a nice gift compliments of Preston Petty Products. Thanks, Mick. And speaking of Preston Petty Products, they've got everything you can want. Number plates, lighting, fender kits, plastic kits, grips, more, t-shirts and hats. Paul and Patty Stainer doing a great job for several years now, bringing back the Preston Petty name, and Preston Petty is still out there. The legend continues. Speaking of Preston Petty Products, here's another reason why I absolutely love something on their website. Not only products, but check this out. They've got all the dimensions of their fenders along with a great picture. And it gives it in a little bit of an alphabetical order thing. It gives you every dimension that there is on the fender. So if you're going to be using that fender, if possibly on a bike with an 18-inch front wheel or a 21-inch front wheel, it gives you the dimensions so you know where the fender is going to sit when you get it and you mount it up to your bike. And they have this for rear fenders as well. So all those fenders that you want to buy and all the great colors that they come in, you can now know exactly what the sizes are, all the dimensions before you purchase it. Preston Petty Products. Thank you, Paul Stannard, for all you do for the show. And here's the problem segment tonight, which is sponsored by Motion Pro. Jordan, what's the first question? Fred Timmons, I want to use new badges on a plastic replacement tank for my Hodaka. I'm concerned about the glue not holding up, much like vinyl. Graphics don't hold up on plastic tanks. Do you have any advice? Well, number one, I think you're in the right direction, Fred. And yes, when vinyl is not perforated and some guys put stickers on plastic tanks, they have a tendency to delaminate and eventually they just fall off. You're going to have the same problem when you go to put your Hodaka badges on a plastic tank. What you need to do is take off any glue that's on the back of that badge. And what I would recommend is you mix up some two-part epoxy like JB Weld. Now listen to me carefully. Do not make a whole bead of that JB Weld go around the whole badge. What you want to do is you want to put a few drops, maybe 6 or 8, around that badge before you put it on. Make sure the tank is really clean. Wipe it down with some alcohol or acetone before you apply that. Mix up your JB Weld, 6 or 8 little dots around the perimeter of that Hodaka emblem, and then put it on that tank. You want to have a little room to breathe back there. This way the gas fumes can escape, because yes, a plastic tank will permeate the fumes through the plastic. That's why many of the vinyl stickers will come off, and that's why something like this is going to come off eventually too. But not with JB Weld, not with a good two-part epoxy like that. I hope that helps you, Fred. Let us know how it works out. Dave Healy, I have a 73 CZ250. It starts easily. It runs great for a few minutes, then begins running rich. It's got a Makuni on it. Do you have any jetting advice? I do, but I don't think your problem is jetting. My advice is going to be more toward the ignition system. And I'll tell you what happens here. You have the original ignition system in that bike, and you have pickup coils in there. Pickup coils are those 3 copper coils that you see right there. What happens is, after 40 or 45 years, however long it's been, some of the wires become separated in there. So when you go to start the bike cold, it runs really well. 3, 4, 5 minutes later, it starts to richen up. The spark isn't that strong because all of those pickup coils are not working as they should. It'll drive you absolutely nuts. It happened to me a really long time ago, and I've seen it happen to other guys too. Now, what I would recommend is, yes, you could replace the pickup coils if you want to keep it original and you think somebody has a NOS set in the box, but even that doesn't matter at this point because they're so old and they've been sitting around. What I would recommend is you go over to Northwest Mako CZ, buy an electronic ignition like you see right here. This way you solve that problem once and for all. Northwest Mako CZ. Get an electronic ignition from them, and your problem will be solved. And don't go any leaner on the jetting. Don't fool around with the jetting anymore. That's not your problem. Your problem is an electrical problem. Thanks for the question. Jack Denty, I bought a replacement hub for my 1974 CR125 and it didn't have any sprocket studs in it. I purchased new studs. One end is longer than the other. Which end goes in the hub? Interesting question, Jack, and I'll tell you what you need to do, first of all, it's the long end that goes in the hub. But for anybody else that's watching and they want to take a little bit of a measurement or do a little research on it before they go out and buy studs, what you want to do is take something, reach down into that stud hole on your hub and measure it. You could do it with something as simple as a zip tie. Just put it in there, put a mark on it, take it out, measure the mark, and then you'll know exactly how long of a stud you need to buy. Something else you should keep in mind. On that stud is an area where the threads meet, where it's a little beefier than the rest of the stud. That's where your sprocket is going to sit so it doesn't ruin the thread. Now, here's a 1974 CR125 rear hub right in that picture, and you can see just about 2 or 3 threads are sticking out from in front of the nut after you put on those little lock plates and you put the nut on there. So take a measurement that way, but the long end goes into the hub. The shorter end is the end sticking out. While you're at it, when you go to put these things in, you should really get yourself a good set of stud extractor remover tools, just like this. It looks just like a socket, but it's got some jaws in there, and when you turn it, it'll grab that unthreaded end, that unthreaded section of that stud, and then you can put it in nice and gently, nice and securely. Yes, you can do it with 2 lock nuts on there too, but that's kind of okay for putting it in. But when you're taking it out, for you guys who have rear hubs that you want to remove those studs from, heat them up a little bit with MapCast when you go to do it and use a good stud removal tool like that. I hope that helps. We're going to take a commercial break. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to comment AMSOIL. We're going to have a winner later on in the show, but we're going to be announcing it on the page tomorrow. But keep sharing. Comment AMSOIL on YouTube. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Hi, Jeff here, introducing you to Motion Pro's magnetic pickup tool today. Now, we've all had that bad experience where we drop a loose part or fastener into a hard to reach place like a skid plate or belly pan. Well, this is the right tool for the job that will retrieve that stubborn part and get you back to working on your ride. As for the features of the magnetic pickup tool, first you have this billet aluminum handle. There's a low profile magnetic tip that's extremely strong and in fact will even pick up a Motion Pro T handle. This flexible shaft can get into hard to reach places and with its protective coating won't damage the finish on your motorcycle. The magnetic pickup tool is affordably priced at $14.99 and is available from your favorite power sports dealer nationwide. So avoid future frustration and pick one up for yourself today.
Another great tool from Motion Pro. In the What's It Worth segment tonight, it is sponsored by Full Circle Racing. We'll be telling you a little bit more about Tom McAllister and Full Circle Racing in just a moment. But right now, let's see what this bike is worth. We've got a 1976 Yamaha YZ250C that recently sold in Kentucky on eBay. While I'm reading some of the finer details of the bike, if you'd like to guess how much this bike sold for, everybody will find that entertaining. So put in your guesses in the comment section, and we'll see what it's worth in just a moment. The description of the bike is as follows. This is a timepiece that's been sitting in my man cave for the past 22 years. Before that, it was in my garage for just about 15 or so years before that. This bike has only been ridden a few times in its history. It starts and runs fine. I drain the gas, not to be a hazard, in the house where I've been storing it. It's all original except for the tires, fuel line, and rear fender. The left side number plate does have a little dent in it, so I'm including a genuine NOS Yamaha plate in the bag when I sell the bike. Prior to retiring the bike in '98, I had the monoshock forks engine, electrical harness, carburetor, cables, wheels, hubs, brakes replaced with NOS items, or it was rebuilt by Dave Ellis Racing, who specialized in vintage YZs. It was my intention to race the bike back in the day, but it just was too nice, and I decided to buy a 1977 YZ400 instead. This YZ, this 76 250, has been sitting in my house ever since. It really is in great condition. No damage has been done to it from any high pressure washing. The rubber cables and covers are all in excellent condition. The rim decals are still in place. The gas tank is near perfect, And the front fender is showroom new. The seat is original without a blemish. It's still showing the original Yamaha logo, lettering on it, and it's very bright. I doubt you'll see another one this nice. It also comes with the owner's manual. There are a few things about this bike. First of all, let me ask you, you put in what it sold for, what you thought the bike sold for? Everybody's bets are in. The bike sold for $3,250, okay? And I think that was a pretty good price for the bike. I think in the description, although I thought it was forthcoming, there were a few things about this bike that I saw that were not original. There's a spacer plate in front of the carburetor intake. There's also an incorrect chain guide on the back. But I think the description was really fair for the most part. And $3,250, I think, was a fair price for a bike this original, 1976 YZ250C. Full Circle Racing. You want to call my friend Tom McAllister. He's got a great special going for powder coating your hubs for just $50. And what he does is he cleans them, disassembles them, masks them, and powder coats them. For just $10 more, he'll do the brake plate as well. This comes in gloss and in matte black. If you want a custom color for just $20 one-time fee, Tom would be more than happy to do that for you. So whether it's for your modern bike or your vintage, spokes, nipples, hubs, truing, lacing, rims, you got to get to Full Circle Racing. That little YZ250C we were talking about a little while ago, well, there's a good place if you want to know the value of your bike, or if you want to check the market and see what a bike you may be purchasing is worth. The Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page has been on Facebook for nearly 6 years now with over 16,000 members. Many of the auction results throughout auctions all over the country are on there, and a lot of private sales and purchases are listed there as well. I invite you to join the Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page. You can post your bike there to discuss the value, not to sell it. If you're looking for a bike and there's an ad somewhere, you can get the pictures of the bike you're interested in buying, post it there with a description, and you'll get some real genuine feedback from the guys on what that bike is truly worth. Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page. In the product spotlight tonight, we have another great product from Vinco. Keep the ride going. For $89.95, check this out. This bag is really beautiful. It's an OSA bag, $89.95, full-size heavy-duty gear bag, 2 separate compartments for your boots, and a large spacious center for your pants, jerseys, braces, and chest protectors. A great little item, green and black with the OSA logo on there. $89.95, available from Vinco. Keep the ride going. Northwest Mako CZ still has a special going on for that Kickstarter shaft. That's for the big clutch 4-speed bikes, the small clutch 68 through 75, the Magnums, Megas, and the Alphas. Just $109. It's a quality part. It's made in America, and you can't beat it for $109. This is a great item to have with you, even if you don't need one today. Makos can be a little finicky at times. If you've got an original shaft in there, no telling when that might give out. Buy one for $109. They're on special right now. I think it's about $20 off the regular retail price. So you can get one, have it in your box. Someday you might need it. Alan Brown, thank you for all you do for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Sunrise Vapor Blasting. Mark Ferrister, one of the sponsors of our show too, put a great little video together for us last week, and I'll tell you, there's nothing that cleans up an old carburetor better, cleaner, and safer than vapor blasting. And as you can see right here in this video, Mark takes it into that tank. It comes out looking like brand new. And he's got it in there. And with that solution, it comes out absolutely like new. And the brass pieces come out so beautiful too. So if you're thinking about getting something vapor blasted, please contact Mark Ferrister at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. Mark, thanks for being a sponsor of the show. AMSOIL, everything in this photo just $46.99, regularly retails for $75. If you buy this, you will automatically be given a 25% off list discount for being a preferred customer for 6 months from AMSOIL. All you need to do is PayPal them at AMSOILplus@AOL.com. Be sure to include your name, address, email, and phone number, and you'll get everything you see right here. You've got the metal protector, the Miracle Wash, the chain lube. It's got the firearm lubricant in there, which is great for you guys with guns, octane boost, and the mud sling, and a funnel. You can't beat that. Russell Waters, thanks for all you do for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. AMSOIL. We're going to take another commercial break. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook. Later on, we're going to be announcing, or actually we're going to be doing that on the page tomorrow. There will be a random share giveaway winner. He's going to win an AMSOIL gift box. And keep sharing the show. Let's take a commercial. We'll be right back.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco, keep the ride going.
This Week in Motocross History is, of course, brought to you by Racer X magazine. Racer X on your newsstand now, and of course, available online. Racer X, one of the finest publications that you're ever going to read. It involves motocross, supercross, and everything wonderful. And they've got some vintage sections in here that are very, very entertaining as well. This Week in Motocross History, it was 1989. In one of the most unexpected developments in the motocross world, almost completely unknown American KTM rider Trampus Parker won the opening round of the FIM 125cc World Championship event in Italy. Parker, who hailed from Louisiana, had some brief success at Loretta Lynn's as an amateur and in the 1985 AMA 125 Supercross Series. But back then he was known as Chad Parker. When Cycle News popped up with the results of the first GP, they had him listed as Trampus Parker. It was quite a head scratcher. Parker had moved to Europe with his fellow friend and American Billy Lyles, and they ended up working in a bike shop over there for a while doing some local races. The Ferrioli KTM team hired him in 1989 to race the 125cc Grand Prix circuit. Of course, Parker would prove that win was no fluke, and he went on to win the 125cc world title, and just 2 years later, he won a 250cc world championship as well. Trampus Parker back in 1989. In 2002, Ricky Carmichael wins on a two-stroke. Why is this news? Well, Team Honda's Ricky Carmichael took a win at the Houston Astrodome over his teammate Nathan Ramsey. Though Carmichael was riding a CR250 two-stroke, and Ramsey was aboard the company's new CRF 450. Finishing third was Kawasaki rider Ezra Lusk, and that was the entrance of the 450 era. But back then, the GOAT, Ricky Carmichael, was still kicking butt on a 250 two-stroke. In 1991, Hangtown Moto is canceled. The notoriously muddy Hangtown National of 1991 may have gone down in history as the muddiest outdoor national of all time. A heavy storm had hit that morning, flooding the Prairie City track and the national track, which ran back and forth across from each other. The first motos went off in the middle of the storm, with a privateer, Doug Henry, riding a Yamaha YZ125, holding on for the win in that race. The 250 National was even worse, and a river was running right through the middle of the track, and it really canceled out the big plans that a lot of professional riders had out there, including Jeff Stanton, Kawasaki's Jeff Ward, and Damon Bradshaw. And until this day, that race, I do believe, is the only AMA national in history that was ever canceled due to rain. It was a melee up there with a river running through the middle of that track in 1991. In the announcements tonight, Jordan, what do we have coming up first? Vintage Motocross Radio. It's been fun. I've done over 40 interviews from people like Garrett Walsink, Brad Lackey, Rodney Smith, John DeSoto, even Jaroslav Falta. Over 40 of them. And you can listen to them at any time because now they're available on your favorite podcast channel. So whether it's Spotify, Breaker, CastBox, whatever it may be, you can tune in to Vintage Motocross Radio and listen to all those great interviews that I've been doing. Boise Interim. This has been a fun race that's going on for several years now, every April. This year, it's the 17th and the 18th. I know my friend Mark Wallenberg is going to... Scott Wallenberg will be there. Okay, Scott Wallenberg will be there along with a lot of other guys. Brock Glover usually shows up, and a bunch of other guys too. We got classes for everybody, and it's a lot of fun out there in Boise, Idaho, April 17th and 18th. My apologies to Scott Wallenberg for calling him Mark Wahlberg. It's been almost a year since the passing of Marty and Nancy Smith, and with the epidemic going on, or the pandemic, they have finally found a time to have a memorial for Nancy and Marty. That will take place on April 24th, Saturday at 10 a.m. That is at the Shadow Mountain Church, 2100 Greenfield Drive in El Cajon, California. Just about 3 weeks away. So that's when the memorial will be for Marty and Nancy Smith. Everyone is invited. Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirts are still available. So are the hoodies, just $19.99. They come in gray and white. If you follow the link in the show description, you'll be able to find out how much the hoodie is too. Comes with a great logo across the front. Got my autograph across the back. Take a picture of yourself wearing one of those hoodies or a t-shirt, and we'll be happy to post it here on the show. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available. Contact me through the inbox. I'll get you a proposal. We'll put something together for you that fits your budget. Now, you can see behind me all the other sponsors that have joined me over the past year. They're all seeing results. That's why they're still here. Some of them are here over a year. I think one of my first ones was Russell Waters and Amsoil. And shortly after that, Paul Stand and Presty Petty Products. But you see them all up there because they're seeing results. We hit about 20,000 people a week between people watching the show and sharing the show, sometimes up to 100,000 a month. So if you have a little business and you're advertising on YouTube or any place else, and you want to, if you're advertising on Facebook and you want to get a little more exposure, like YouTube and Facebook and some of our other places that we post some of our sponsors, like in some of my other groups. Joe Body Cycle Therapy, or the Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page, or the Motorcycle Gas Tank page. Each week, we rotate our sponsors and we make announcements there about who our supporters are for the show. So, inbox me, and we'll send you a proposal. We'll get you in the fold here at Vintage Motocross Q&A as a sponsor. I want to thank you all for watching the show tonight. Don't forget to tune in to the Vintage Motocross radio page to find out who my next guest will be. We'll have somebody coming up very soon in April. And in the meantime, thanks again for watching. And let me see where Gino, come on, boy. Okay, here you go. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.